sometimes we're not able to explain. I was studying on the life of Job and how Job went through a transition of a drought. Things went to the left. Yet servant, yet faithful, yet committed, but yet he experienced an unseasonal drought. And maybe today you're experiencing something likewise. You love the Lord, you're following his plan to the T, and you're walking in the will, and maybe you may not be doing all that you should be doing, and yet you find yourself facing a drought. But then again, sometimes the drought is a reality of the way we're living, the way we're standing, the position we're holding, the way we compromise when we should stand. Those are various areas of life that can bring a drought in one's life. My prayer today, as we live toward the year of expectation, that we don't live in the drought, but we live in the plenteous. We live in the nourishing of the things of God. God supply your every need according to his riches and glory. But you and I must uphold a righteous standard, that we don't live a life of the drought. Well, thank you for joining the Tabernacle, where we say that the word is on and know that we love you. Come on, World Changes. Let's bless the Lord real quickly. Amen. I'm going to do something a little different here today. We have a very special guest, Mr. Don Carter, correct? And Brother Carter came to our Bible study this morning, and he stated he had passed the church so many times, and he finally decided to stop by. And when he stopped by, he was impressed that we were having a men's Bible study, a men's study together. And we thank you for being with us today. Someone from our team will be contacting you in a reference to our service. Amen. Let's give Brother Don a hand clap. This particular message is one of those type of messages that's going to really hit home for many of us and going to help us to start evaluating our lives. I don't know about you. I've had my moments where things went to the left, and I knew they went to the left because I was living in the left. And even though we sometimes try to portray that you don't know why you're facing some of the issues that you're facing, but the truth of the matter, you know. You ever heard this particular phrase, God knows my heart? And the phrase, I'm only human. We only use that superhuman stuff when we're not up to par. When you're living right, you don't talk about I'm only human. You talk about things of God. And the thing that I'm mostly concerned about in this area of life is that many people in the church are lacking the blessings of God because they're not walking in the blessing of God. Now, please don't misconstrue blessing as stuff, because I promise you, anything you really want, you can go and buy it if you can afford it. So we're not basing it on stuff, but we want to base it on relationship, because a man or woman can start off right, and if you're not careful, if you don't stay with the call of God, you'll shift to the left, and before you know it, you'll be walking in a dark place, and you don't even recognize it. But how many can say when you lived in a dark place since you've been saved? Because when you wasn't saved, not that it didn't matter, but at that time, you had no one to give account to. But once you say you accepted Christ and you believe in this Jesus guy, then that means you should be walking according to what he established. The word drought is defined as an extended shortage of what? Scarcity. Shortage. How many have had a shortfall? When you hear the word shortfall, what does that mean? Shortfall. A lack. How many have had a lack where there was things that you needed, but it wasn't there? You ever went to a grocery store and going to pay for your groceries, you get there, and you come short? See, last night, Mother Borkin took me and the chairman and Mother Noble out to dinner. And so when it came out to pay for the meal, I said, thank, but I couldn't say you until it went through. So I just said, thank you. When she brought us this sign, I said, you. and I'm laughing about it because it was about a year or 2 years ago, the man of God, 3 years ago, the man of God, spoke to the body and said, y'all go somewhere and y'all be a blessed one. Pay forward. So Mother Borkin, goes to the grocery store and, she ain't called Bunny before she checked the account, and she says, You know, the lady head up told, you go, I got you. The lady got her groceries, she ran home and said, thank you, Jesus. And when the mother boy was trying to swipe her card, the lady was already gone. She's in the car, she done went down the street. And the lady basically told Mother Bucky, didn't go through. So Mother Bucky, she called you, didn't she? Sometimes the good intention is not good. So what happened, there was an error with the bank that caused Mother Borkin to come short. So she had a shortfall. She was scarcity. An extended shortage. So she gave her ID, so I'll be back, Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18. I got to go home. This message, listen to my heart, because I really mean this. Nothing is more important to me as your pastor is to see you prosper and be in health, even as what your soul prosper. I believe that's God's divine plan for all of our lives. But also, I do believe he loves us enough that he'll pull back for the sake of our soul. Because sometimes you can have the stuff, but not have him. And sometimes we only serve God to get the stuff, and once we get the stuff, then we don't be consistent in serving him. And what I think most people fail to realize, Deacon Hogan, is that God already knows that. He already knows that you're here for the fish and the loaves. But he loves you still, hoping that you'll make the turn for the better. But look at Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18 to verse 20. It says, but thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to what? That he may establish his covenant with thee, which he sware unto thy father, as it is this day. No, he says, it is he that give thee power to get wealth, not your own. See, once you start thinking you did it, that you established it, and you made it, and then God says clearly, he said, let me remind you something. When you walk into this what we call the blessing of the blessings, he said, don't say or don't take credit that you did it. Right. Don't take credit because you went an extra semester. Don't credit because you got a promotion. He says, don't take credit for that, but make sure you give me the credit. Right. Because this is a part of the covenant. If you serve me, I'm going to bless you. Right. If you serve me, I'm going to bless you. Because if you're serving me, you're letting the world know whom you're serving. But in the process of serving me, if you somehow shift with a mindset as though you have accomplished this, and by your might and by your power, you've gotten to this certain status in life, he said, be sure of this one thing. Yeah. It's not going to fly. And verse 19 says, and it shall be, if thou do at all forget the Lord thy God, and walk after other gods, the stuff, the accumulation of things, and serve them and worship them, I testify, in other words, God, I testify against you this day that you shall surely perish. Even though I don't bless you, even though I've given you opportunity to accomplish this thing, he said, the day that you deny me as being the God that made it happen, he said, I'm going to perish. You're going to perish. He said, I'm taking an oath on my own word that I testify against you. How many know the last person you need to testify against you is God? I mean, God testifying of he's never wrong. As the nation which the Lord destroyed, verse 20, before your face, so shall ye perish, because you would not be obedient unto the voice of the Lord your God. He said, after you've gotten these things, you've accomplished certain things in life, he said, the day that comes that you begin to deny how you got it, and you take the glory for it, he said, you will be like the rest of the nation. You shall perish, you shall receive just due for disobedience. How many know obedience is better than sacrifice? And once you practice being obedient, you practice being what I call a righteous resolve. So none of us have gotten where we are because of our own merits. Your home, your car, your job, your promotion is not something that you did so great that you got it. It was God's favor. It was God's purpose and plan for your life that he may get the glory. He's reminding you, don't forget where you come from. The days you couldn't afford to buy the lunch. The day you couldn't afford to take your kids to get a Happy Meal. The day you couldn't afford to fund a birthday gift or Christmas. He said, don't forget when you walk on the other side in your temporary obedience. Because sometimes we got a temporary obedience. Obedience temporary enough to get what I want, and once I get it, I go back to being the way I once was. The difference between God and I, okay. Somebody said, thank God he ain't God. Because so many people have come and say, I know this is a place for me. I know God called me to be here. And as soon as they get a breakthrough, as soon as things begin to happen, they start shifting with excuses. How many know to be in the presence of God and in the house of God is a blessing? Because there were times you couldn't wait to get to church. There were times you couldn't wait for the door of the church to open because you knew there was something you was expecting. You knew God was doing some marvelous things, and things were increasing in your life, and the favor was coming. And all of a sudden, once you gain the favor, you find yourself coming distance in fellowship. Look at the book of Haggai chapter 1. One of my favorite chapters, Dana. He says, you look for much, and lo, it came to little. And when you brought it home, I did blow upon it. Who blew upon it? He's testifying that when you brought it home, after you got it, he said, I blew upon it. And he said, why? Said the Lord of hosts, I mean the God more enough, because of my house that is waste, and you run every man unto his own house. In other words, you're so busy taking care of your own, you don't take care of the house of God. Right. You're so busy trying to be prosperous, and you're getting the wealth increase that you don't even think enough to bring a tithe for the blessings. Right. Got quiet then. He said that's because my house is waste, and you see everything need to be done, but you don't take the time to do it. But you're more concerned about your own house, my own welfare my own well-being, and not so much concerned about my brother, my neighbor's keeper. It's just about me. And anytime you do you'll never do God. He said, therefore the heaven over you is stayed from dew, and the earth is stayed from her fruit. Somebody said fruit. And this is verse 11. It's going to really make you understand something. He says, and I call for a drought upon the land, and upon the mountains, and upon the corn, and upon the new wine, and upon the oil, and upon that which the ground bringeth forth, and upon men, and upon cattle, and upon all the labors of thy hand. Yeah. All this, he said, I've called a drought on it. No matter what you're trying to do, how you try to go about it, God says, I blew a drought on it. And most of us know why we got the drought. Am I right about it? Most of us, in fact, I would say all of us know why it's not working. No matter how you try to figure it out, trying to work the numbers or trying to work the dynamics, you know why you got that drought. And the thing about when you got a drought, people will try to help you and they don't have enough to help you. Get enough and just not enough. How many remember those days? Just not enough. And you say, Lord, if you just get me through this one. And so when he gets you through this one, he got to bring a drought again. The drought is a moment of time that calls you to do some reflection, to help you to do some analyze your situation. Because in the book of Haggai, he said, other verse earlier, he said, consider thy ways. In other words, you know that there is a need, but you're not willing to fulfill the need. Right. You heard the call of the school, but you haven't answered the call. You heard the call that we're going to pay this debt off, but you haven't did your responsibility. Because you've been more concerned about your place. Because when you're about you, you'll never do him. We're going to be quiet. It's okay. The storm is coming. It's okay. So I call for a drought. I call for a drought over your substance. I call for a drought over your productivity. Yeah. I call for a drought even though you sowed your seed, that has not been a harvest because you have not been responsible for me. You have not fulfilled my assignment. And yet you ask for more responsibility. You cannot get more responsibility when you don't fulfill the assignment you already have. And it's such a simple assignment of being obedient to the things of God, doing it God's way and not doing it your way. Stop trying to create these new adventures when you need to stay with the one you got. Are y'all listening to me? So, though you pray fervently, he says your prayers are prayers of no acceptance because you're in a season of a drought because of your own doing. So you can't fault God. You can't fault someone else. He said, I did this because I love you enough that I would cause your blessings to be at a standstill that you can be awakened. Because sometimes it takes a tragedy to make us do right. Sometimes it takes a lack to make us realize, you know what, I got to turn this thing around. Why? He loves you so much that he allows circumstances to come up in your life that will get you to a place of repentance. Men and women of God, we got to live right all the time. A righteous life is a life that even if I don't see you as a person, you still living a righteous life. See, we can be public successful and yet walking in this private failure. And what's going to happen in a moment of time, that private failure is going to become a public failure. The wife and I was up around 1 or 2 o'clock this morning talking. You know, I tell her when she wake up, because I'm a light sleeper. And she kind of moved 2 or 3 times. When you move 2 or 3 times, it means I need to get up. One time I'm thinking, okay, 2, all right. All right, 3, that's it. So she just moved like a little glowworm, just moving in the bed. So, you know, and I felt in my discernment there was something on her heart. And we started talking about life. Start talking about situation and people and decisions that people make that's supposed to be men and women of God. As a man of God, there's certain standards, and women of God, there are certain standards we're supposed to uphold all the time. Because the life you live publicly can affect other people. And public, it's a shame when believers are doing everything under the sun and say they belong to Jesus. How many know Jesus is an individual who's already set the tone how we're supposed to live? He's been the model. Why are we failing the model? Why are we so consumed about trying to be with the world that we forget who we are in Christ? So we were discussing a subject situation. It was heartbreaking. And I could not rest out of my mind, why would an individual who knows better refuse to do better? Right. See, it's one thing you don't know, but when you know, then you ought to do. The only reason you keep doing the wrong thing is the consistency of a dark place. Yeah. And then you questioning why my life is like it is. Why things are happening to me. Why my family is the way they are. Maybe it's because you're in a drought that you caused. Yeah. Most of our dilemmas are based on what we've done. Yeah. How many know when you're in this situation, you know it? I don't care what folks tell you. They can pray for you. They can tell you the Lord going to work it out. You already know. Until you turn this thing around, their words are just words. It's the words of hope and the words of opportunity. But until you have a made-up mind that you're going to serve God for real and be sincere about it, it's just going to be words. Coming to the altar, if you're not willing to change, you're wasting your time. The altar is for fixing it, of making it better, acknowledgement, acceptance, owning it. But you don't come to the altar with a mind that you're going to go back and do the same thing over and again when you're saying you want to do something different. The difference is this. I don't want to be in this drought no more. But then I don't want to play games anymore. Have a temporary come out so I can go back to my old ways when I need to stay out. Tell your neighbor, get it together. So I'm very mindful when people ask me for counsel, want to talk to me about certain things. And I keep seeing you doing the same old stuff. Then I'm thinking, well, if I keep talking in this vein and they ain't willing to change, It's wasting my time. You got a bigger fish to fry? I got more responsibility to deal with than to deal with a person who's not willing to change. Change is when you want it. And as long as you want to stay in the drought, I'm not going to stay around you because your drought may be contagious. It's kind of like poison ivy. You know, the person, one got poison ivy, you touch them and you go to itching. You ain't itching. Why I'm itching? Bed bugs don't be on one side of the bed, they're on the whole bed. And when people in a drought, it's like bed bugs. Until you get it completely exterminated, you're going to always have bed bugs. Until you change your way of thinking and your way of doing, you're always going to have a drought and you're never going to do better than what you could have done. You got to get sick and tired of being broke. Let me say it now. Income tax return is an opportunity for you to get things together. I mean, to me, that's poverty mind. On time, you seem to do better when you get a return. No, you need to be working on having a return all the time. It's called investing in yourself and making sure that you do things right, that you don't have to live a life of a drought. What if they don't have no more income tax return? And if you haven't practiced living outside of the drought, you always stay in the drought. You got to start thinking, I got to do better, and I can do better, but I'm not going to do better if I got a drought status in my life. Is it making sense? So God, some people in this church are living a life of a drought. And it's a drought because your refusal to submit to God. Your refusal to line up with righteous living, that now you find yourself always on the outside looking in, having a bunch of wish creeds and dreams that it will never come to pass because you won't change your lifestyle. You're in today, you're out tomorrow. You're blessed today, you're cursed tomorrow. Tell you that, I'm tired of that stuff. And if you're not, you should be. You ought to be tired of being tired living in the drought. Oh, here comes the drought coming. Yeah, I mean, I felt it was something was happening. You felt like, oh, here come again. We got quarterly drought people. You do good for a season. You'll pray well for a season. You'll reach your word well for a season. And then all of a sudden, when things start getting better, you start improving, life is going good, all of a sudden, here we can't find you anymore. Bless my business, but you're never business-minded. Favor is this. When you overcome something, you don't return back to it. When you come out of a drought, you don't go looking for another drought. Because the drought that you already experienced wasn't favorable. It was months or weeks, in some instances, years of suffering. And when you finally come out, you mean to tell me you're going to let the devil trick you to go back to a place of lullaby, a place of no hope, when God already favored you with the promise that he wanted to give you all the time, but you choose to go back to craziness. And then you want to fault the church. They weren't there for me. They ain't helping nobody. Well, did you help anybody when you had it? You get a breakthrough. Don't even come around to bless the man or woman of God. Before you got a breakthrough, couldn't get rid of it. I'm staying on. I'm going to hold on to Jesus. Because y'all, my blessings tied in y'all. I'm going to hang on in here. As soon as you get a breakthrough, you don't even show up to have the integrity to be a blessing to the one that's been a blessing to you. You want to know why prophets now are blessed? We are blessing people. We consistently bless people. We consistently be available for people. Why? Because it is our desire to never be broke again, spiritually or financially. If I don't have the finance, God will supply. But to be broke spiritually is a disaster. And that's the drought state. Coming to church, never experience a move of God. This past Wednesday night, we preached the word, and before the end of the service, miracle came in the house of God. People was healed of pain and affliction. All because it was that time where we could experience the greatness. But imagine if you don't live right, you'll go back to a drought of pain again. When God shows up, you need to be available. Many of you are testaments, have lived a life of a drought, and then God opened doors for you. I have to say, Bernard and Sharon, when they came to this ministry, they was in a drought state. But you look at them now, you never knew it. They come with no car to having a car. Then buying a brand new car. Credit that made the creditor say no. But consistency. Remember how the drought felt. Remember what the drought felt like, what it lived like to be in the drought. And when you finally get out, you ain't trying to go back to a drought again. Feel good, doesn't it? Y'all ready for that house? All right. God has authorized the man of God to speak over your life and things come to pass. But as it's spoken, you got to line up with it. The favor of God is in this house. The favor of God is going to make things come to pass. But what you got to be careful is don't forget where you came from and don't go back to where you once were so you can stay in the plenteous. My belief is that if God blesses your man of God, He's going to bless you. And I believe also if God blesses you, He's going to bless the man of God. And He said, I call for a drought upon the land. Not someone trying to hold you back. Not your enemy. God says, I called the drought. He's so bold, He tells you it was Him. And you still going to serve me. And the reason He called for the drought, so that you can understand that God is not your player. You can't pimp God. If you love Him, you're going to live consistently for Him. Even if there's a midst of a drought, because you take Job. Job was living a righteous life, and yet Job experienced a drought. And in the middle of that drought, at the end of the drought, he got more than he had from the beginning. Now, everybody's not called to have a Job experience. Some of your Job experience because you created it. Last chapter, Luke chapter 15, verse 13 through 16. Listen to this. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. Somebody say substance? With riotous living. Meaning what? He had the stuff. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, they say. Had more than enough, but he found himself partying. Be careful who you party with. Be careful who you hang out with. Be careful who birthday party you go to. Because some birthday party ain't a birthday party. How many of you went to a birthday party, you realize, oh, well, I didn't mean to come to this one. But you're so prideful you wouldn't leave, you're going to hang on in there. It's like being a king's kid, but living like a peasant. And he took his journey to a far country, and there wasted the substance and righteous living. Meaning the stuff that he was inherited given by his father, he decided he's going to go out and live a righteous life. He felt like he was missing something. You know, I want to be in church, but the church thing, at some point, but right now I just want to have fun. This is for you young people and some of you old people too. Because some of you young people think, well, I haven't experienced fun yet. Listen, what you think is fun out there is not fun. It's a picture with a death sentence behind it. For the wage of sin is death, but the gift of God is life. While you're in church and being trained and taught to live a righteous life, you need to live that outside these doors. I can't wait to go to college so you can go to hell. Go to college to learn and get your degree and make some of yourself. Don't go to college and fail. I can't wait to get out of my parents' house. How many of y'all want to go back? Look at rusty jokers. I want to go back with my mama. See, Sam and I, we made a decision. We're going to downsize. So ain't no room for nobody. But Lala and forever. But when you was young, you kept saying, I can't wait till I get grown and I get out of this house. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to eat all the Fruit Loops I want. You know, most kids do that. When they get grown, I'm going to eat all the bananas I can eat. Waffles. I want a waffle. And you think when you get out, you're going to have all those extra burgers, and then you get out, you ain't got no burgers. Come at home, mama. Call her. What are y'all doing? What are y'all eating, daddy? What y'all eating today? Not with you. Now your future is ramen noodles with no meat, but expectation. You ever had the food you didn't want? You just fantasize with something else. You're gonna make your ramen look like a steak. But at least they give you a variety. Pork. What kind of ramen noodles they got? They got pork, chicken, creamy chicken. See, y'all some ramen noodle folks up in there. See, when you was in the drought, you were living on ramen noodles. All right, did y'all eat breakfast this morning? Nicole, the Cree recipe, creamy chicken. Okay. Luke chapter 15. But he says, wasted his substance with righteous living, and when he had spent all. Not some, all. Somebody say all. And that's what the devil does. He gets you in a place that you spend it all. And there arose a mighty famine in the land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed the swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. No man. He leaves his father's house with the abundance. He goes out into this foreign land. He spends all he has on this and that, partying, drugging, and whatever they may have done back in that time. Just living a life of the living. And as soon as the famine hit, it affected him too. And now he's without. And nobody that he gave to, nobody he partied with, nobody he spent his money with, none of them came to rescue him. You want to know your true friends? Get in trouble. As long as you spending, as long as you buying, you are the favorite, you are the number one. But as soon as you don't have it, everybody walk away. And then they had a dash to say, maybe God trying to teach him something. So you spend all you have, what you inherited, and now the people that you've given your most to, who celebrated with you only because you had it. But as soon as reality affected you, well, you didn't have the abundance anymore, now nobody was available. Now he's broke, he's hungry, and he's homeless. But even God gives favor when you go through your crazy state. He allowed this individual to employ him. And while he was working there, the hog was living better than he was. But somebody said he came to himself. And he made an astonishing statement to himself. He said, listen, my father has servants. I can go back home. And he made up his mind when he came to himself. The reason he came to himself because the drought that he was experiencing reminded him where he came from. And when you remember where you came from, it was better than where you are. You go back to familiarity. You go back to things that are better. You don't go back to the worst stuff. And too many believers are doing this. You've already experienced the blessing of God and the benefits of kingdom living, and yet you find yourself longing what's outside those doors. You're reconnected with the wrong people. You're hanging out with the wrong association. You're giving yourself excuses to be in a bad place. And all this time, the Holy Spirit is reminding you, you are better than this. But God loves you so much. He said, before I let the devil get you, I get you myself. I blew on your blessing. I made things go bad for you. I made you lack. I made you alone. I made you lonely. I did everything that myself because I love you so much that I brought this calamity. But I'm not going to let you die like this. It's when you come to yourself and you realize I can do better than this. I had better than this. And I won't live like this anymore because the God I serve has more than enough. So why would I settle when I can have better than this? He comes back home in his travel. And as he's traveling back home, he's broken. Spirit is low. Heart is heavy. He's disappointing himself. He feels like a failure. Because right in this moment, he is a failure. He wasted his wealth. But lo and behold, his father was yet praying for him. His father from a distance was praying for him. Meaning, from a distant, Dana, he wasn't sending after him. He was praying for him on a regular basis. Maybe the father prayed, Lord, strip him. See, some of you parents don't know when to tell God to strip your children. You're so busy clothing, God is taking it off. You put more clothes on them. And then finally, God said, okay, all right, you in the way, I'm going to drought you too. So you go broke trying to take care of the broke. My daughter went through her drought and disobedience, and mama wouldn't touch her. You hungry? You eat here, but you can't take no food with you. That's some parents in there. I'm going to supply your need, but you got to eat here. Just like in the Bible in Israel, you can come on the land, but don't take nothing off the land. Eat it right here. And then one day, Nicole came to the office on Sunday morning. But just like she done had the latest drug they can. Her feet were ashy and her toes were showing. As though she gonna get on the praise team and sing that Sunday. You remember that Sunday? I mean, and she came out like, what happened? You know, mom in the spirit. She ain't singing today. I said, baby girl, you can't sing today. I'm still trying to look at her feet. Now, how do your feet get ashy in the summertime? Now, you can get ashy in the wintertime, but how your feet get ashy in August? I mean, the ashy to the point it look like marble tile. It kind of get a crack in it. She was in a bad place, but we weren't willing to uphold her in the bad place. We knew that she was experiencing a drought because our prayer was, God, whatever you have to do to bring her back, do it, but we're not going to help her out of it. Because our love is enough to pray and wait on God. You that say you trust in God, trust God for your children, trust God for your grown children, that God turn them around. And you can't help something that's got a drought on it. The more you put out, the less they can do. Isn't that good stuff? And now you look at her every time she prays in the Lord. She come and said, Mom and Dad, thank you all for not touching me in my drought.
That's right.
Came over to the house the other day and brought Dad and Mom a check for $500. Look at God. Why? Because she remembered where she came from. She remembered how it used to be. When you come back to yourself, because we got some prodigal sons and daughters in this house right now who need to come to yourself and tell yourself, I'm no longer going to live in this drought. The drought staying is the option. The prodigal son came to himself. And he remembered where he came from. And he says, listen, it's better than my father's house. The part I love the most, Donald, that Dad was waiting for him. Dad never gave up. Dad kept on praying. But Dad never went and looked for him. He just prayed for him. And one day, here comes the son. Broken, dirty, out of condition. And the father sees it from a distance. And one thing about God, when you start coming back, God runs to you. He runs to you to keep the devil from getting you anymore. Tell your neighbor, come get me, God. Yeah, and he did. When you went to the left, God saw you, and when you made a turn as though you wanted to come to do the battle, and God ran and met you. Because you don't have enough sense to keep on coming. So the prodigal son come in contact with his father, and the father says, he wraps his arms and hugged him, and the son began to say in many words, Dad, how could you love me after all that I've done? Not only he hugged him, he says, listen, you royal priesthood. He took his coat off and put it on his son. Then he now took his coat, he put a ring back on his finger. In other words, you still my son. You still anointed. You still ordained. You still belongs to me. So come on back home. Yes, I put you in the belly of the well to get you to shore, to spit you out. Because the enemy meant it for your evil. But I'm God. I meant it for your good. I allowed this drought for your good. And now that you're back on this side, now you can testify and not test a lie. You can testify that God did it. You can testify if it hadn't been for God and all his goodness, where would I be? See, all that changes when God is involved in the decision making. So God says, I brought forth the drought. Because I knew there was more to you than you knew about yourself. I'm not going to let the devil get the glory to destroy you. I got you. You belongs to me. Whatever the devil thought he had, God said, I got more. So instead of giving up on people, let's pray for them. Let's trust God for them and say, God, whatever you do in this season, if we're going to save this soul, let it save their soul. Listen, God has not forsaken you, but God has droughted you so that he can get you. Because you don't know how to turn around. You don't know how to make it better. You just got to come to God. I need about 3 people to stand and say, I'm walking back to God. Because if God doesn't do it, it's not going to be done. We all have faltered in this thing. We all have come short in this thing. We just need a few good people that'll be willing to help somebody through the process of praying. Don't judge them. Don't judge them. Just say, Lord, what you did for me, will you do it for him? Lord, what you did for me, will you do it for her? God, if you can save me, you can save them. God, if you can deliver me, you can deliver them. If God, you can bring me out, you can bring them out. Whatever God has done for you, you say, God, do it for them. The son returns home. But sometimes you return home, you come with conflict of family members. The older son sees the son home. Here's all this information. What's this rally going on? What's this noise? The father tells the servant, hey, listen here, my son home. Go kill the fatted calf and let's bring it together. Let's celebrate him. The older son is in the house, laboring, whatever he's done. And he's there. Now he had the audacity to complain about what the father been praying about. The father been praying about his son. The brother is living in the sonship life. Instead of him being happy for his brother, he's mad. And he's telling his dad, how, in many words, why are you rewarding him? And I've been with you all the time. But the father was praying for him that was lost. He said, son, basically, you know, you've been with me always. And what I have is yours. But that which was lost now been found. So now that it's found, let's rejoice over it. Let's bless God over it. Let's be rejoiced over it. Let's not make it worse. Today, everybody has a drought. Tap two people on the shoulder and say, everybody have a drought. No drought lasts forever, precious. Because sometimes people think when we don't have, that we're defeated. But literally, no, we got more than enough. See, there's a drought that comes in the natural sense, but then there's a drought that God brings. Either drought, God going to get the glory. See, the enemy meant it for your evil. He tried to discourage you in your drought, Anita. Don't go to school. You got a divorce. You got to raise this kid. Sell that big house. But little did the devil know. There was reinforcement to tell her, you can do this. And not only can you do this, we're going to help you. We'll get your baby to school. We'll keep him while you're at work, at school. In other words, we'll be a part of this overcoming situation. You have not because you ask not. Ask someone, are you my keeper? Yeah. When things go bad in my life, can you love me still? When my son Joshua Sellers stopped coming to church for a season, when he came back, all we did was love on him. And now, not only do we love on him, let's get back to work. We got to be willing to let people come back just as they are. And let God fix them. Let God cleanse them. See, what we don't do is we don't give God opportunity to do what God needs to do. Who wouldn't serve a God like this? That when you were stinking wrong in the church. I'm not talking about when you were wrong out there. I'm talking wrong in the church. Backslid in office. Backslid in position. But one day in church, you heard a message. And you found yourself turning. And when you turned, we met you right where you were. And all we're asking you to do, and when they return, you give them what you got. You loved in the way you was loved. You blessed in the way you were being blessed. Because every person deserves a second chance. Imagine the father had decided that he was no longer having anything to do with his son. His son would never have known he could come back home. He remembered how his father loved him as a child. And now that he was a bastard child, he still loved him as a son. That's a natural father. Think about what he does. No matter how crazy you get, he still loves you. So don't let this drought be a defining factor that God doesn't love you. He sends the drought so you can see again. Because you became blind. And once you're blind and you see again, you don't try to be blind no more. One has changed nothing in the world for this young lady. You know why? Because God did it. Listen, God can do whatever needs to be done. Just let the drought take its course. Because you don't know what people are going through. That song said about a change going to come. The change comes in the drought. When you're at your lowest, everybody's standing. When you're at your lowest and there's nothing else you know to do and nothing else you can do, that's when God shows up. And he camps his love around you. How that song go? I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by him. See, the enemy is trying to surround you, but God got you. He's surrounding you. And in the midst of all that you're going through, God says, I have not forsaken you. A broken heart and a contrite spirit, God will no wise cast down. What the enemy says can't be done, God says it's already done. Life is supposed to be good. Life's supposed to be good. I'm going to say it again. Life is supposed to be good. I can't think how many countless times I prayed just for you. That God would do something special in your lives. And every morning, my daughter Misha would text me and say, have a good day, Dad. And there's been times I need to hear that because the day wasn't good. It's not God's plan that you stay in the drought, but it's His plan that you come to yourself, come to your senses, and say, I can do better and live better. Because everybody goes through a broken state, but God is faithful. I want to pray for a few people that may be in a drought or may feel as though you're in a drought and you need to be restored. I want you to come quickly. God is faithful. It's not over till God says over. And no matter how broken it is, God is capable and able to put you back together.
World Changes Tabernacle, led by Prophet Prathan Powell, is a word-based church committed to seeing you win. We're called to create a loving and caring community for all people and work together for justice and peace in our world. Recognizing that our spiritual journeys are all different, we strive to be respectful and inclusive concerning each individual's relationship with God. We believe that Christianity is a lifestyle, and we're committed to teaching, learning, and living the Word of God. It's more than a song, more than a shout, more than a dance. Whether you're a committed follower of Christ or just curious about God, you are invited to visit with us. Give us a call or check out our website for more information or to see our sermon times.